Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Horror Mine, where we talk about mysteries, thrillers, and horror movies. My name is Vic Shy, and this week we're going over the 2021 thriller horror film, Till Death. The film stars Megan Fox and tells the story of Emma, who wakes up in a bed to find herself handcuffed to her husband, Mark. He proceeds to blow his brains out right in front of her, leaving her handcuffed to a dead corpse inside of their lake house located in the middle of nowhere. How the hell did things get to this point, and how is she going to escape? I'll be explaining the events that take place in this intense thriller film, but before I do, I want to take the time to say a huge thank you to everyone who helped the channel reach 1,000 subscribers. I put in a lot of time and effort to make these videos, and it truly means a lot to me that you all are enjoying the content on the channel. I can't thank you all enough for helping me reach this milestone, and I hope to keep making quality content that you all enjoy. But without further ado, sit back and relax, and join me as we explore the world of a cold and toxic failing marriage that should have ended a long time ago until death. Our movie begins with a beautiful shot of New York City. We meet our main character, Emma, portrayed by Megan Fox, who breaks off her relationship with her lover, Tom. Emma is married to a rich defense attorney named Mark, but their marriage has definitely seen some better days. We don't get a whole lot of backstory here, but he appears to be emotionally manipulative and doesn't seem to truly value Emma. When she visits Mark's office, she sees a confidential police file detailing the time she was robbed and stabbed years ago by a man named Bobby Ray, who also goes by the much cooler and evil sounding alias Jackdaw. During the attack, Bobby attempted to steal Emma's camera and stabbed her in the back. She managed to fight back and stabbed Bobby in the eye with her car keys, leaving him partially blinded. Mark was the prosecutor in charge of putting Bobby away, which is undoubtedly how he and Emma met and fell in love. She asks Mark what he's doing with the police file, and he tells her that they're revoking Bobby's parole. They awkwardly come across Tom in the elevator and try to act as if they hardly know each other. Tom works for Mark at his firm and is banging his boss's wife. Class act, Tom. Class act. Mark and Emma eat dinner at a fancy schmancy restaurant for their anniversary. He gifts her a steel necklace, even though they agreed they weren't going to exchange gifts. She gives him tickets to the Super Bowl, which he rudely pushes away. We later find out that this has a darker implication than him simply being a douchebag. After dinner, Mark blindfolds Emma and drives her to their lake house located in the totally not for plot purposes middle of nowhere. Once inside, she begins to count out loud, still blindfolded, but decides that counting to 100 is just too tasking. She finds a note on a table that says, "I love you with all of my heart. Till death." Get it? Because it's the title of the movie. She wanders the romantically decorated house full of rose petals and several lit candles, one of which has got to be a safety hazard. She enters a photography darkroom with several photos of their time together displayed. She walks to the upstairs bedroom and sees Mark with 2 glasses of alcohol. He apologizes to her for their failing marriage and says that he has been a bad husband. While he knows this anniversary surprise won't fix everything, he hopes that it's a start in rekindling the flame for their marriage. She wakes up to Mark sitting on the bed and asking if she had a good night's sleep. He asks her about her dreams, sounding very cryptic and ominous. She discovers that her right hand is handcuffed to Mark for some odd reason, and when she asks him about what the hell's going on, he proceeds to blow his own brains out. She freaks out for a moment, but doesn't seem overly concerned that her husband of over 10 years is dead. She picks up the gun and attempts to shoot the chain, but the revolver only had a single round, which is located inside of Mark's brain. It also seems like she skipped out on Forensic 101 as she gets her fingerprints all over the murder weapon. She is now forced to drag his lifeless body around and must find a way to break free from the chains. This also being a metaphor for her trying to break free from the emotionally abusive and dead relationship with her dead husband. She tries to call 911 on the house phone, but did you really think that was gonna work? You're in a horror movie, girl. She goes into the closet and finds her wedding dress hanging in front of a metal safe. She uses the dress to help minimize the friction on the ground and help her drag the body around. After taking a tumble down the stairs with the dead body, she realizes that this is gonna be harder than she thought. She looks through all the kitchen drawers, but everything has been emptied out. She finds the car keys inside of a trash can and tries to start the car in the garage. She quickly realizes realizes, however, that all the gas has been siphoned out of the vehicle. The radio begins playing a recording of Mark's voice, who reveals that he planned this entire thing.
When I met you, you were nothing. A failed photographer with no money.
He reveals that he knew about her and Tom all along and that he couldn't stand the thought of the two of them being happy together. Instead of filing for a divorce, he decided to construct an elaborate escape room full of dangerous situations and voice recordings. Jigsaw would be so proud. She washes the blood off of her face in the bathroom and tries to take off the steel necklace, but is unable to as the necklace seems stuck on her neck for some reason. The necklace and his lifeless body signify that he is still in control of her life, even in death. She heads down to the basement and to no one's surprise, it is completely empty. Emma is then forced to drag his body all the way back up the stairs. She says that she felt as if she was dragging his lifeless body around long before he was dead, showing just how bad their relationship had gotten. Emma goes into the dark room and sees several pictures of her and Tom displayed. Mark knew about their secret affair all along and was even spying on the two. She turns around to see a menacing picture of Bobby staring right at her. Next to the picture is a tape recorder which says, "Play me." The tape recorder plays a conversation between Emma and Mark when he was working as the lead prosecutor on her robbery case. This really affects Emma's anxiety and causes her to freak out, showing just how good Mark is at being emotionally abusive and tormenting Emma, even in death. It kind of reminds me of the relationship between Cecilia and Adrian from 2020's The Invisible Man. She hears a vehicle approaching in the distance, and it turns out to be Tom. Tom says that he's here because he received a text from Emma asking for help. We find out that the district attorney raided Mark's office and have charged him with several counts of tampering with evidence. Mark abused his power as a defense attorney and tampered in the cases of several of his own clients and faces some serious jail time. But he's dead now, so it's all good, man. Emma wants to call the police, but Tom is afraid that the police will think she murdered Mark. Now that may be a possibility, but keep in mind that Mark left a voice recording essentially confessing to his entire plan, so I'm pretty sure she'd be covered there. A rusty pickup truck, possibly named Mater, suddenly approaches the house, which Tom says he saw about a mile back up the road. A man approaches the house carrying a tool bag and states that Mark hired him to fix some broken pipes. The man is persistent on trying to go inside, but Tom pays him and tells him to go away. Another man exits the vehicle, which turns out to be none other than Jackdaw Bobby, and he ain't messing around. He stabs Tom in the stomach several times and then kicks his way into the house. Bobby's little brother Jimmy is clearly the nicer of the two and begins to freak out that Bobby just killed somebody. Bobby tells him that everything's going to be okay and the two go searching for Emma. She manages to leave the house and sneak into a shed behind the house. However, she left a trail of blood in the snow while dragging Mark's body, revealing her location to Jimmy. Inside of the shed, she finds an anchor inside of a boat and begins chopping at Mark's hand. She doesn't chop with enough urgency and must hide inside of the boat when Jimmy suddenly enters the shed. He notices Mark's dead body on the floor and runs inside to notify Bobby. They pull the tarp off the boat and we see that Emma managed to get free of the handcuffs and is now hiding under the boat unbeknownst to the brothers. Bobby reveals that Mark hired them to kill Emma, with their reward being inside of the metal safe inside of the house, which Emma knows the combination to. They go back inside the house without bothering to check underneath the boat because, you know, movie logic. Emma makes a pair of makeshift shoes by wrapping her feet with her wedding dress and luckily finds a large gas canister inside of the boat. She drags the gas canister out to the garage and tries to fill the car back up with gas. Bobby hears the noise coming from inside and goes to check it out. Emma sneakily manages to avoid him, but at the cost of her getaway ride as Bobby punctures the tires with his knife. She runs into the basement, but Bobby ain't no fool. In a very tense scene, we see that Emma is trapped between the two brothers. Jimmy is dragging Mark's body upstairs, blocking her exit, and Bobby is walking up the basement stairs. Jimmy hears Bobby's footsteps up the stairs and goes to open the door, thinking it's Emma. She cleverly uses her key fob to turn on her car's alarm, which causes both brothers to rush towards the garage. Jimmy tells Bobby that they should just give up and leave, but Bobby tells him that they aren't leaving until they open the safe, which is holding $200,000 worth of diamonds. Bobby blames all of his family's misfortune on Emma, saying that during his time in prison, his father died and their house got repossessed. Stupid Emma. I'm sure it had nothing to do with Bobby being a terrible human being. They go back inside the house and see that Emma is now wearing Tom's shoes. They hear footsteps coming from the attic and decide to check it out. Emma manages to pull a fast one on old Bobby and smacks him in the face with a golf club, causing him to fall backwards and fall through the floor, knocking him out. She also smacks poor Jimmy in the face for good measure. She rushes out into Tom's car and tries to escape, but sacred horror movie rule number 7 states that V shall not drive away without the bad guy breaking through the window. Come on, this is textbook. Bobby yanks her out of the car, but she does manage to place a call to 911 before he knocks her out. She wakes back up in the bedroom and is now again handcuffed to Mark. Bobby threatens to torture Emma into giving him the combination to the safe, which Jimmy totally isn't cool with. He tries to pull him off of her, but Bobby easily pushes him off to the side. Jimmy notices the revolver underneath the bed and points it at Bobby, saying that he doesn't want anyone else to get hurt. Emma agrees to give them the combination if they set her free. Bobby picks the lock to the handcuffs and Emma tells him the combination, which is the date that Mark proposed to her. Also thematically similar to the combination which gave Cecilia access to the invisible suit. Not to say that this movie is copying the Invisible Man or anything, but I can't help to notice the similarities. Bobby opens the safe, which also required Mark's fingerprint, and instead of diamonds, finds a saw inside of the safe. They realize that the diamonds are located inside of the steel necklace around Emma's neck. They try to cut the necklace off of her, but Bobby realizes that Mark, means for them to cut off her head to gain access to the diamonds. Bobby tries shooting Emma with a revolver, but realizes that it isn't loaded. He chokeslams Emma to the ground and tries to cut her head off. Jimmy proceeds to jump on top of Bobby's back, trying to stop him from hurting Emma. Bobby tries to get him off and walks straight back into a wall-mounted coat hook, which penetrates the back of Jimmy's head, killing him instantly. I really like Jimmy's character, and it's a shame that he died. He was the younger and weaker of the two crime brothers, but had a really good heart and never wanted anyone to get hurt. Bobby clearly didn't mean to kill Jimmy, but is now enraged and turns his attention to Emma. The two get into a gritty, all-out brawl, which ends when Emma smacks him in the face with a pair of bolt cutters and handcuffs him to Mark's dead body. She runs out to the garage and manages to get the car started. She rams Bobby with the car but loses control of the vehicle, which almost falls into the frozen lake. Emma crawls out onto the frozen lake to get away. Wouldn't have been my first choice. Bobby follows behind her, dragging Mark's body with one hand. Now, I know what you're all thinking. Why didn't he just use the knife to cut off Mark's hand and freely chase after Emma? I actually have no idea. Hey, why don't we ask Bobby? Well, you can't because he's got a knife in his eye and is sinking to the bottom of a frozen lake and can't take any of your calls right now. Emma manages to stab through the ice and make her way back up to the surface. Having survived a not so elaborate discount jigsaw trap and an extremely abusive and toxic marriage, she lays on the frozen lake, victorious. After all of the action has ended and our protagonist is no longer in danger, we hear the police sirens in the distance, right on cue, as the movie ends. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was Till Death. Do us part after I handcuff myself to my wife and blow my brains out to prove a point. This was a surprisingly decent thriller film that I had a really fun time watching. Although it admittedly borrowed similar plot points from much stronger films, Till Death did a really good job keeping me interested in its story and keeping me on edge, which is all I can really ask for. The film was well directed and had some pretty good performances from the entire cast. I definitely recommend Till Death to those looking for a good and pretty intense hour and a half. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, I would really appreciate it if you gave it a like, as it really helps my channel and lets me know that you're enjoying the content. My friends, thank you all for tuning in. I cannot wait to see y'all right back here in the Horror Mine. Y'all stick around.